What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. In this episode, I'm going to talk about getting back in touch with the fear of me actually pressing publish on my own content. We're going to talk about red carpets, Bob Dylan, Mamba Mentality. I'll answer some questions, react to some freestyles, and close it out with some bars like we always do. Y'all know what it is, man. Thanks so much for being here. Let's go.
This is for my Flow State. Add it. Yeah. Y'all know we back at it. Ain't it crazy how the mind works magic? We gon' show you the method behind the madness, cause this is for my Flow State.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. We got another solo episode for you guys. I love doing these. Love hearing from you guys in the comments as well. Shout out to everybody watching and listening. As always, I'm here with my man Sam in the Flow Station. What's poppin', my man?
Not much, Doc. I also enjoy these ones, man. It's fun kicking back and hearing what you got to say about all these different things on these solos.
Hell yeah, dude. No, I really dig it, man. I like both of them have been fun explorations. The guest episodes, you know, it's like I'm learning a lot about interviewing and how that whole thing works. So that's like a big sort of, out of the comfort zone, like learning on the job kind of thing. And these solo episodes are really awesome because they're just kind of a culmination of a lot of different types of contents that I've kind of dabbled in the past, just sporadically. Like I used to do Q&A Twitch streams where I would just kind of like rapid fire answer questions. And then I always, have enjoyed pulling from those, like maybe some inspirational moments or some educational moments and things like that. But I never really had like a focused way to create that stuff. And so these solo pods have been really cool for that.
Hell yeah. Here it is.
Here it is. Here it is. We in the mix. Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? Today, I want to get real with you guys. I want to be completely vulnerable and tell you all that, I've gone a little soft, okay? I've lost a little bit of my edge. And, it's hard to say that, but I have to be honest with the audience while I'm here because that's what this podcast is all about. Let me tell you guys what I mean. Of course, I'm being a little silly, but I had a crazy experience this morning. When I explain what it was, I feel like it's going to be like, how could this be? But anyway, I have been feeling a little, a little hands-off in a sense with the content that I create and post, which you might think is somewhat absurd because I'm always the one freestyling or talking in all of the content that we do. But what I mean is I haven't really been like in the platforms, like on these social platforms like YouTube and IG and wherever else we post. I haven't been actually on the platforms myself, kind of like getting a feel for the culture and what's happening within the platforms. And I haven't been the one actually just like recording something on my phone for, the audience and posting it myself. And I haven't done that in a really long time because I have a team, right? And I've built out a team over time and that's been really amazing and it's been completely essential. There's no way I would be able to produce anywhere near the volume of content that we put out if I didn't have a team, if I didn't have people that were actually, editing it and reformatting it to meet the dimensions of all the different platforms out there and actually scheduling it and posting it and making sure that it gets out to the people. So shout out to my team. I'm very lucky. I have so many great people that I get to work with, like Sam on this pod and so many others. And so I'm very fortunate and that's been great, right? Mostly positive. But one of the things that I started to notice is that because, there's this separation now where it's like I do the things that only Harry Mack can do, right? So like I'm showing up there to be in my best headspace to freestyle. I'm showing up to this podcast to be in my best headspace to answer your guys' questions and communicate honestly with you guys. So I'm handling that. And then I'm trusting that the team is handling everything else, right? That's the goal, is for it to be, so I can be as laser focused, and razor sharp focused on what I do, knowing that the team is handling the other aspects. It's been great. But because it's been that way for so long, it's like, I don't even know how to make a post anymore. Like the notion of me pulling out my cell phone and just like filming something in selfie mode, casual, whether it's just me talking, me posing a question to the audience, me doing a random acapella freestyle, whatever it is. It's like the idea of that. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I wouldn't even know how to do that. Right. Which is so crazy because that's how all of this stuff started, was with me doing exactly that. Like, I think one of my second or third YouTube videos on my channel, if it's still up, I don't even know if it still exists, but it was it was me using this app. What's it called? RapScript. And it was just filmed on my phone using this app, RapScript, which is basically a random word generator that has this feature on mobile where you can like film a selfie video and have the random words overlaid on the video. And so it was just me in my bedroom recording myself freestyling with this app on my phone, and I posted it to the YouTube audience, right? Early days, just scrappy, just anything. Like I'm trying to get a video out every Friday. It was probably Friday night, and I was like, damn, I'm about to fail at my goal if I don't do this. Yeah, there it is. Harry Mack RapScript freestyle. Yeah, so, that's how this started. How many views does that have? 40K.
7 years ago.
Let's go. Yeah, so that was obviously a smaller video. At the time, I'm sure, I don't even know if it cracked 1,000. And then retroactively now, because the channel's gotten so much bigger, people go back to the beginning for fun, and that's how it even has the 40K that it has. But I did that, and I always did that, and I was comfortable doing that, because if I didn't do that, nothing was going to happen, right? There wasn't a team. There was nobody else to handle any of those parts for me, so I had to do everything myself. And this is really relatable for anybody out there that's like a solopreneur or somebody that's getting started on social media and doesn't yet have the finances or the resources to bring a team on. You're having to do everything yourself, right? So I came up in that headspace, and then I start building out the team. It's great. We're able to do more. We're able to grow. So much beautiful stuff comes from having this team around me. But the one negative is that I became incompetent. I became completely terrified of actually posting myself. And so I'll tell you the story. I have wanted to correct this. Okay, in the last couple of days, like I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, why is it that I struggle to, for example, just post something on the IG story? Like I end up doing like 10, 15 takes. I get frustrated at the end. I'm like, never mind, I'm not even gonna do it. Like just making casual content. Like why do I struggle with this? Why have I gone so soft with regard to just like being a casual content creator, the way that it all started? And so today I was like, fuck that. I'm going to take some bold action right here, right now. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I was like, hey, I have some time this morning before we go shoot the podcast. Like, let me just make a piece of content, a piece of video content on my phone. Like, let me just do that. And so I go out into my studio. Immediately, I'm feeling so much resistance, to it's just like I'm feeling, I guess, scared. I don't know if it registered as fear, but it was just what am I gonna do? I had overwhelm. Like I don't know what would I even record? As I stutter and stammer through it right now while I refeel these emotions as I'm telling this story. So you procrastinate. I'm wasting some time. I'm pulling the phone camera out. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't know. Should I change the lights? Should I? You start thinking about all this other stuff that doesn't really matter. Because you're procrastinating doing the actual hard thing, which is just pressing record, right? And so finally, I realized like, okay, if this is how I'm feeling right now, let me just hit record selfie mode, acapella, freestyle about the resistance that I'm feeling right now in this moment. And so I hit record, first line, fuck the resistance. I'm saying that with heart. And then something about how it's preventing me from going forth with my art. And from there, once I get going, I get on a roll and I just, in a very raw way, with no beat, just speak the way that I'm feeling, I speak about the insecurity of it. I speak about the fear of it. I speak about how, I have every resource that I should need to be able to create something gorgeous, but yet I'm feeling tortured, And so I talk about these sort of struggles that I think all of us probably have to some degree, when it comes to putting ourselves out there, right? And we've talked about that a lot on this show. And so it's like, well, if I'm going to talk about how to overcome fear and how to like push past this resistance, I need to really be about it, right? And so this morning was one of those moments where it's like, you got to push yourself to be about it. So I record the freestyle, a cappella. It's good, I think. I mean, yeah, like some off top, raw thoughts, raw emotions, just pouring out of me, selfie mode. It looks like a piece of content that somebody would post on Instagram or TikTok, Like, it's what the platform is made for, right? They made these platforms not so that people would, like, hire big production companies and film, like, 8K super advanced, like, cinematic stuff, which is all really great, too, by the way. That's no knock to people who make stuff like that because I think it's awesome. But, like, really, like, the core purpose of these platforms is for, like, everyday people, people like you and me, to just pull our phones out and record something and put a little title on it with the built-in, text. So I did that too. I wrote off-top freestyle about creative resistance. I picked my favorite of the 12 Instagram fonts. I was like, all right, cool. This one looks good. Sized it up, centered it. I tried to put the captions on it, but the automatic captions, which are actually pretty good, and they do let you edit it, but they automatically censor your swear words. What is up with that, by the way?
No idea.
It puts a beep over your swear words.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Over the text, right? The captions, but the audio's still there, right?
The audio beeps.
Wow.
And that was the hilarious part too, is because my first line was, hey, yo, fuck this resistance. But there was a gap. And so it went, but the beep was offset. So it beeped between ayo and fuck. It was hilarious. So it went, ayo, beep, fuck this resistance. So the fuck still rang out.
Wow.
But it was just obnoxious to me that you couldn't turn off the censorship.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up. I was like, how to turn off the censorship of the IG auto captions. And there were some articles from the deaf community about how it's bullshit. They're like, yo, this is for accessibility, So you're saying that basically I didn't read the article. I skimmed the first paragraph, but it seemed like the tone was basically why does the deaf community have to have a censored version?
Right.
Which
understandable.
I totally agree. So anyway, but I experimented with it and I even corrected some of it before I realized that I couldn't do that. And, it took a little bit of time, but it wasn't hard. And it looked cool. It looked like things I see on Instagram all the time, even really big viral videos. So many of them are created within the platform by people just messing around, trying to do something fun and creative. And it resonates with a lot of people, So anyway, I did all that. And then I was like, I don't know, man. I suddenly felt a lot of anxiety around just pressing the share button. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this, man. What am I doing? Why would I do this? That was one of the big questions that was in my head. Was just why would I post this? This thing that I just randomly pulled my phone out and filmed selfie mode that took a minute and a half. I could do that at any point. Why do it now? If I didn't do it yesterday, if I'm not going to do it tomorrow, why do it ever? And it's kind of a bullshit question because it's why do anything, But nonetheless, it was there and it was clouding my vision, and there was just even more resistance than I felt to actually record the video by 20 times more when it was actually there. And now the only barrier between me actually accomplishing my mission of the morning, which was to, post something casual on Instagram, the only barrier was just pressing that share button. And now all of a sudden it's I can't do this. I can't. Oh my God, why would I do this? This is terrifying. And suddenly I felt so scared too. I think part of it is maybe if I had decided to do it on TikTok, it would have been a lot easier. For whatever reason, Instagram, that's my personal social media platform of choice. So I had an Instagram before I was known to the world as Harry Mack. I didn't use it very much, but I would sometimes post stuff on there. And I was friends with a lot of people that I knew in real life. So from high school and college. And it's kind of the one that I think for my age, because I'm 35, it seems like that's the one that that we gravitate to. Am I 35 or 34?
I thought 34, to be honest.
I'm 34. Yeah, I'll be 35 in
If you think 35 the whole year, you get a free year when you turn 35.
I'll be 35 in a few months. But
so IG had some of that old kind of nerves baked into it already.
Yeah, it's real people I know in real life are going to see this, which is hilarious, right. Dude. I post so much shit that gets seen by so many fucking people. As far as the Instagram audience is concerned, I post at least once every fucking day. Sure. I do so much stuff that is shown there. And if they follow me, they may or may not see that or it's no different, right? The difference is that I have been so buffered by this incredible team that I have that does such a good job. And I've been so removed intentionally, right? Because I needed to make some space for myself. I just flat out wouldn't be able to do it all myself. But even aside from that, it's I wanted to be able to focus on the things, again, that only I can bring to the team, right? Being Harry Mack, being the freestyler, practicing my craft, all the things that go into doing that. So, it was by design that I was removed from the day-to-day process of posting. But yeah, just because that happened and because I'm so buffered, it's I'm so safe. I'm so safely protected from ever having to come face to face with that feeling that I used to know so well of taking a deep breath and pressing publish, right? Or pressing share. And that is such a pivotal feeling. It's such a deep feeling. And it's something that anybody who makes creative things and puts them out into the world, even if you're not doing it on social media, if you're an artist that does an exhibition, we all can relate to that feeling. And being so removed from having to actually feel that feeling myself has not, it's like, fuck that, fuck that, dude. Like, that was my biggest takeaway of today is like, oh my God. That's why I say I've gone soft, It's because it's like, dude, you are everywhere all the time as far as the world is concerned, but you have isolated and protected yourself from having to feel this very intense, but I think very important feeling of overcoming the fear and insecurity and self-doubt in the moment before you decide to share something with the world. Because I don't really decide anymore. It doesn't feel like I decide. I record the things and then they get distributed weeks later, and they go through this whole process. It was intense. And one funny part too, when I was like working on it, I was like adjusting the thumbnail and like, it felt good to be, I was like, oh yeah, like this is what the team does for every post every time. And I was adjusting it and then I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I accidentally double clicked on done and the button behind done was share. So I was like, fuck. And I shared it and I was like, oh my God. And literally my heart rate was like this. It sounds ridiculous. And some people watching this are probably like, dude, what is wrong with you? And you're right. Like, I don't know. It is absurd, but yet it's my truth, right? My heart rate was just going insane. And I was like refreshing my page and I was like, no, because I was like, I need to delete this immediately. Like there was no caption. I wasn't ready. It wasn't ready. It was accidental. It was early share. And so then I was like, oh, it's not showing up yet. But I forgot that it takes a minute to like go through to the Instagram server and actually appear. And then I saw this little sliding bar of like posting and I was like, no, I was clicking on it. Like you can't cancel it. Anyway, it went live. I immediately deleted it. And I was like, did anybody see that? Just ridiculous, man. Just completely absurd. But then I wrote the caption. I got it ready. I added a couple hashtags. And I was like, oh, my God. I'm still like too scared to press share. And this is embarrassing to admit, but, that's what this podcast is for. And maybe some people can relate to this, But, yeah, I was too. So in the end, I went into the house and I told my wife Lisa, I was like, hey, I made this thing and I need to share it and I'm too scared to press share, so I'm just here so that you can tell me that I should press share. And I was like, I think that'll do it, for some reason, just somebody else. And she was like, oh yeah, she was like, can I watch it? And I was like, sure. And she pressed preview and watched it and she was like, oh great, yeah, press share. I was like, she was like, why wouldn't you? And I was like, I know, I've already gone through all the intellectualizations. Like that's the other thing is I sat there and I was like, why wouldn't I? And then I was like, it would be a failure not to. And what's the worst that could happen if I do it and everybody hates it? Nothing. It doesn't get any views. It gets no engagement, or somebody comments, this sucks. Okay. Like even that's not bad. And that's kind of absurd for, that it's very unlikely that would be the outcome. But there's a big difference between intellectualizing what you know is true and what you know is right, and then actually embodying it in the moment. And that's what a lot of the material on this podcast, I feel like, especially the solo episodes, has kind of been about, right? It's like, how do we go from intellectualizing or reading about or like logically comprehending what the right thing would be? How do we go from that to like actually applying it and living it? And that's why this was such an important moment this morning and something that I want to keep going forward with, because in the moment where I had to embody it, it was incredibly fucking difficult. It was super challenging. Anyway, long story short, or long, I guess, I finally pressed share. And it's out there now and it's in the world. And it has a lot of, supportive, positive comments, and a lot of other creatives were like, yo, I'm saving this for, the next time I feel resistance. And it's great. Does it have millions of views? Is it changing the world? Of course not. And I think, it's not this one, and maybe another one in the future will, hopefully. But, it's not about that, right? It's about getting past that resistance, which is what the whole freestyle was about, and putting it out there. And man, it was a journey, and it's something that I want to keep doing more of. So
I think it gets easier too the more you dive back into it, because I do think it's relatable to artists or anyone on the platforms. I myself have gone through this. I know friends that have if you don't post for a while on your feed, that first post to get back in there feels like a whole something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I haven't posted in a year or just done stories or whatever.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden there's this weird pressure on the one time that I do decide to throw something back on the feed, even though this, honestly, I'm the only one thinking about it like this. I don't know what that invisible barrier is.
Like, oh, Sam's back. What's he got to say? What's he coming back with? Right, exactly. Nobody is thinking that shit that you think they're thinking. Nobody's seeing your thing and judging it.
Oh, this is how he comes back? Really?
Yeah, exactly. It's so absurd, man. But yeah, that's why today was so important, was because it was a big wake-up call and a big reminder, too, where it's like, hey, man, like for me, it was just like, it's good that I'm doing this. It's good that I'm going through this because I got to do one so that I can do 100 more. And I can't let it get to this point again. You know, I have to remain at least somewhat close to that feeling of pressing publish.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't mean that suddenly I'm back in the trenches and I'm posting every video. Of course not. But it shouldn't be that hard for me to do it if I decide I want to.
Yeah, man. I mean, some of it's necessary. Like you said, when you're like touring and stuff, that's a lot of travel and whatnot. And, you know, some of it comes out of necessity. But I know the fan base and myself loves to know you're pushing the button sometimes on that. And you're there listening and to get that raw, like unfiltered look at whatever you did this morning. You know, it's like just that directness matters.
Absolutely, dude. The rawness of it, too, you know. And I think in general, our content has a very like raw, like certainly like guerrilla bars, busking, like we're really out there in the world with strangers, you know? And so it does have that rawness, even as we've sort of like increased the production value gradually, always strategically though, with the rawness in mind, right? Like
Nothing's been masked.
Really. Right, exactly. And we never want to increase it past a certain point where it stops feeling like we're real. Because it is very real when we're out there with the strangers. So that's cool. But even still, the rawness of just like spitting a freestyle in selfie mode about what I'm feeling in a random moment of my day-to-day life, I think that has the potential to be very compelling. And when I see that from other people that I respect, like I'm always like, yes, this is awesome. You know, even if it's not the most viral thing that they post, it's like, oh, wow, this is a real human moment. And I really relate to this and I really appreciate this. So, and I'm excited to just experiment more and you know, once something becomes a thing, like once Guerrilla Bars becomes kind of like a brand unto itself, then it can be systemized, you know, which is awesome, which is mostly great because it means we can make more of it and we can really get it out to the people consistently and all that stuff, which is fantastic. But I'm just feeling also at the same time the drive to sort of start experimenting and just trying random shit too and throwing that out there as well to see what sort of resonates and what people are feeling.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. So wow, man, I feel lighter. I felt lighter after posting it, kind of, but I was still kind of like, what have I done? But now I feel a lot lighter after sharing this. So thank you all to everybody that's here watching and listening and supporting Flow State. As always, I appreciate you guys.
It's funny hearing you like talk about like setting up the hashtag, like like you're like, I had to, you know, I set up the caption, I hashed the tag. He's back, baby, he's back hashtagging.
Yeah, dude, hashtag freestyle, hashtag hip hop, hashtag rap.
Still got it.
Yeah, I literally had to look at our post and be like, oh, what hashtags do we use? I was like, do we still use hashtags? I was like, oh yeah, wait. Okay, nice.
Welcome back, man.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. Wow. Okay. And so what else? I had a cool experience recently, just a couple nights ago. I got to see the premiere of the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown is the title of the movie. And it was very random. I guess somebody emailed from some kind of like PR company or something like that. And they just were like, hey, if Harry Mack wants to come out to this thing, he can come with a +1. So
no freestyles or anything?
No, nothing. Like just basically I was invited to the world premiere of the movie at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood. And it's like a red carpet event. So that was the thing. The email was like, we have a pass for him to appear on the red carpet. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, I mean, like that's not my thing, you know? I don't know. Maybe that's obvious, but if not, I'll just say it flat out. Like I don't know. Like, I don't really care about being on the scene like that. You know, I'm very much like, I want to be practicing or like out in the world making dope shit, you know?
Yeah.
But so, but even if it was my thing, it's not like I have a bunch of invites, you know? This was like the first opportunity I had. I guess there was red carpet at the Streamer Awards. So That was cool, right? Wasn't there red carpet?
Yeah, there was. And we freestyled on it.
Yeah,
freestyled on it.
All right, so this was my second red carpet. But that was a little different because I was there to make content. Like, we were invited into that space specifically, and I performed at the thing. This was truly just like, I think there was like a big outreach to a lot of influencers and celebrities and people like that who, you know, for whatever reason, were flagged as people who might want to see the Bob Dylan biopic. And I just so happened to be one of them. So, hell yeah. So, but I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan. And I have been for a long time. And I actually went through a really deep Bob Dylan phase when I was in middle school. My mom is a big fan of Bob Dylan. And so we had a lot of the CDs, Freewheelin Bob Dylan, Highway 61, I think it's called, Revisited. I had a lot of the albums. Probably 4 or 5 of them through my mom. She had them. And so I would listen to them. She put me on to Bob Dylan, and I really fell in love with his art and his lyricism in particular. And I was already into hip hop. So that was my favorite music, but hearing Bob Dylan, I immediately appreciated and respected the lyrical component, especially. And back to that word raw, the rawness of it, especially Freewheelin Bob Dylan, where it's just like, it's like his folk album of original songs where it's just like him, a guitar, a harmonica, and his vocals for the most part, maybe entirely. I don't know if there's any other instrumentalists on that whole record. And it's just amazing. So yeah, there was a time where he was like my favorite artist and somebody I was listening to daily. And then I hadn't really been listening to a whole lot of Bob Dylan since then. You hear it because it's obviously timeless and it's in the zeitgeist forever, but wasn't really intentionally listening to it for a long time. So when that email came through about seeing the biopic, I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do it. Like, I want to see that. And so me and Lisa went, and the whole red carpet part was hilarious, dude. Like,
did you dress up?
Yeah. Well, so the dress code was cocktail chic.
Okay.
And so we were like, messaging Mikey on our team, like, oh, what is that like? Lisa was like, should Harry wear a suit? And he was like, yeah, typically. Like, I was like, are you serious? Like, well,
just trying to see a movie.
Yeah, basically. And also, like, that's the other thing. I feel like this is especially true in LA, but it's like, dude, everyone airs so casual. You know? Right. So if you really like match the suggested dress code head on, you're always overdressed in my experience. So it's like this secret code, which is really messed up. Like, it's like they're trying to prank you. Yeah. Like, yeah, all right, let's it's like if you have a friend that's always late, so you tell them the meet time is like 20 minutes earlier than it really is. Yeah. You know? And like if they find out you did that, it's kind of messed up. You know, it's like, yo, what the hell? This is kind of in some weird way like that. It's like, all right, we'll tell them cocktail chic, and then they'll land at like lounge casual or whatever, and it'll be good, you know?
Oh look, he actually wore a belt?
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. So I did luckily, I mean, I have a suit because I got married this year. So like I have a suit. So I just wore that one. But I just wore it with like a t-shirt. It was like a white t-shirt.
Nailed it.
Sports coat. Still, I was like, there were people that were more dressed up than me, sure. And especially people who had, I think, technical roles on the film, and people who are like more staff, were all like wearing suits, and some people with collars and ties and stuff. So like I was seemingly middle, but most of like the influencers or like the like cool people that were on the scene were like wearing less, you know. I mean, they were still all looked great in their own way. They were clearly dressed up in a sense, but not like so traditionally. Anyway,
it's a stylish town, man.
Yeah. I mostly have casual clothes at this point. Like, I'm a freestyle rapper, so I'm lucky. I just get to basically wear what I want most days and what's comfortable and what I feel good in. But anyway, it was hilarious. Never before, like, this was the real red carpet. So they shut down Hollywood Boulevard. They had the whole tent set up, the big thing. Me and Lisa are like, what are we doing? Like, what? And she's like, am I going to go across it with you? Like, am I going to be in these pictures? And I was like, I think you should, like, if you want. Like, it's up to you. And she was like, oh my God. Like, and then it's like, literally, dude, I'd never seen this before. But it's just, you know, there's like a one of those fences, like one of those metal fences, barricades like they have at shows. And then behind it, like a short little stadium seating, probably like 5 levels up, if you can imagine, of photographers with their cameras out. Yeah. Big lenses, just like forever. Like there were like probably 40 photographers at least. Wow. And just these lenses sticking out. And there's all these lights, you know, as you walk down it. And then it's the big backdrop. It was hysterical, dude. I go up to the front of the line and they're like, they know that I'm there and that I'm Harry Mack somehow. And so they have that like on a iPad. So then they hold that up so that all the publications know, like, who is this? Who the hell is this guy? You know, like most of them probably have to Google me, like, and then they're like, oh, wow, okay, interesting, freestyle rap guy. So yeah, there's that, and then we just go out there, and we're just, and then it's like these people are like, over here, hey Harry, up here. And somebody else is like, Harry, down here. People are waving different ways of getting attention. This other photographer goes out in front, and this guy in the back is, oh, come on, Jerry, every fucking time, Jerry. Like, it was so funny, dude. And everybody's like, Harry, real quick, over here. Like, and I was like, this is just ridiculous, dude. Like, this is such a funny thing, man. And yeah, it really solidified for me that I don't particularly care about doing that. You know, I'm not one of those people where that really like fills me with excitement and makes me feel that's not the kind of validation that I seek. You know, I do definitely you know, seek validation in my own ways, but that's not it. But it was fun. It's not like it was a bad experience or anything. It was quite entertaining. And then cool thing, as we're moving past, and then we're moving to like the video stations where they have people there to interview you from like ET and from like the various networks. The first person I saw was Liam McEwen.
Hell yeah.
And that was really dope. And shout out to Liam. And for those of you watching or listening who don't know who that is, he's an incredible interviewer, specifically of musicians. And he actually interviewed me here in the podcast studio. And he has it up on his YouTube channel in full. And we've actually posted some clips from it. But he's an amazing interviewer, and he's been on his grind for a minute now, just killing it with like the independent content stuff that he posts on TikTok, going to festivals, going to concerts, getting to interview incredible musicians for his own social media. And then from there has been actually, I mean, now I think he works with Rolling Stone and other publications, I think. I don't know if he's like just with Rolling Stone or if he bounces around as a freelancer, but he's absolutely killing it. And so that was really dope. So I walked up and said what up, and he was like, oh, what? Answers, let's do it. Let's chat, you know? And so he pulled out the mic. Nice. And I answered some questions for him just real quick. I doubt it will ever come out, but that was a cool moment. And he was like, dude, how do you feel, man? Are you just here like they invited you to the red carpet for this? And I was like, yeah. He was like, you're not freestyling? And I was like, no. He was like, how do you feel, bro? Like, this is crazy. Like, you are they shut down Hollywood Boulevard. You're at the premiere of this movie, like, just because you're Harry Mack the freestyler. Like, how does that feel? And I was like, you know what? When you frame it like that, that's pretty fucking dope. I that's awesome. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I appreciate it. You know, it's cool.
He has a way of doing that, kind of like really putting it back into perspective. And
yeah,
anyone looking to get into journalism in this content space, or, you know, he does it all too. Music, movies. I would really look towards how that guy's built up his own journey, because it's really impressive, and he's really good at it. Yeah.
He's a great interviewer.
Cool guy.
Definitely somebody for me to learn from too as we continue to do guest episodes, because he's great. Yeah. But yeah, that was fun. And then I didn't stop at any of the other filming ones, because they kind of flag you down, and they probably none of them knew who I was. But anyway, we moved past there, and then we went into the theater, big theater, first time in there, Dolby Theater. I think it's where they have like a lot of the award shows and stuff like that. So that's exciting. But anyway, the movie was really great. I loved it. And it was all about, I mean, it was really zoomed in on, it wasn't like a biopic where it's like the whole life story. It was actually more so zoomed in on a particular chapter, which is like the beginnings of Bob Dylan's career, starting in the folk music world and like becoming so respected in the folk music world. And then his decision to go electric, where he decided to bring other musicians in and actually form a band, which I always knew about this really pivotal moment because it was incredibly polarizing in its time. And it was this crazy thing where so much of his original fan base for the folk musician Bob Dylan really revolted against his decision to go electric. And I had read about and heard about from my parents, actually, this moment at this big folk festival in California when he first debuted the electric band, and it caused a riot and people were throwing shit at him on stage and booing. And then, of course, that record that came out with that band went on to be, you know, a seminal record and was at the top of the charts in its time and is a legendary recording and has, you know, his song Like a Rolling Stone on it and a lot of other just huge hits that he wrote. So really cool moment in music history where somebody just said, fuck it, I'm going to do what I feel, even though everyone around him. And like the way it's portrayed in the movie, and I assume this is true, is that like the producers of the festival we're becoming aware of his sort of new direction, and we're like, hey, not at our festival though, right? Like, we have you headlining, like, we need you to do the folk shit. And it's like he's deciding and he's on the fence, like, as it gets closer and closer to the gig. And then when it's time, he's like, let's do the band, you know, like, fuck it.
Sick.
And so anyway, it was really inspiring, really cool. And the acting is amazing. Everybody's really singing and just doing an incredible job. So
that's sick. I didn't know that. Everyone has their own vocals, which makes sense because guess it's done by the same director, maybe, as Walk the Line, which had Joaquin Phoenix and like Reese Witherspoon doing all their own vocals.
Oh, no
for
way.
The Johnny Cash movie.
That's dope. I didn't actually realize that even, but that's epic. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, dope experience, you know, freestyle rap on the red carpet, baby. So anyway.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's sick. A lot going on.
Yes.
Dope. Well, I got a float state clip.
Hell yeah, man. Hit me.
Good to pull that up.
Definitely.
We did Bruce Lee last time.
Yes.
And now I've got a couple Kobe clips.
Hell yeah.
And to be honest, man, I was just like laying in bed last night watching both these like interviews that are like an hour and a half long, just kind of like time coding. I wanted to pull a Kobe something, and I was just like, I'm just going to watch these in full.
Yeah.
This guy is spouting so much like wisdom that is like, I could have gone any direction with these, dude.
Yeah.
Unbelievable speaker.
Oh, yeah. He's amazing, dude. He's so inspiring. Rest in peace.
Yes. I mean, inspiring, motivating. It's insane.
Yeah.
But I pulled a couple that are tried to align with flow state.
Awesome.
So here's the first one where he kind of first talks about Phil Jackson introducing the team, and Phil Jackson was his coach, introducing the team to like kind of mindfulness and how Kobe took to that.
Oh, hell yeah.
He had a Tai Chi master come to practice. And we walk out there, and you know, the Tai Chi master standing center court and tells us to take our shoes off. Take our shoes off, and I'm pissed because I'm ready to like play basketball. And he's standing up there and says everybody closes their eyes and stuff, and he does stuff like monk gazing at moon, and talks about the fingertips and barely touching and the spirituality of all that. And I'm peeking around like, is everybody doing this shit? Like, what the hell's going on? And there, you know, and big ass Phil's there doing it himself. He's like, you know, he's doing this whole, like, doing all this stuff, you know. And I'm like, damn, okay, I'm gonna try it. But honestly, I bought into it. I bought into the meditation. I bought into the deeper connection that exists within the game. And so when you watch our teams, or you watch any of Phil's teams, or Chicago teams, Game 6 against Utah, you watch our games, you know, Game 7 against Boston, we were never rattled, ever, because we're always in the moment, always in the present, always extremely calm, always looking at the reality of the situation and not letting our emotions cloud our execution. And that comes from being in that meditative state that he would teach and preach from day one. At practice or when I'm training or during games, I switch my mind to something else. I switch my mode into something else, right? For me, it's the equivalent of Maximus Decimus Meridius in Gladiator picking up the dirt, smelling the dirt. It's go time, right? So that was my mental switch. It was like an actor getting ready for a film. You got to put yourself in that cage. When you're in that cage, you are that character. And then when you leave there, it's something completely different. But when I'm in that cage, bro, don't fucking touch me. Don't talk to me. Just leave me alone. There used to be certain games, like, for like certain key games. I don't think I've ever said this before. This kind of makes me seem very psychotic, but whatever. I used to play the Halloween theme song over and over and over in my headphones.
Pre-game. Seriously.
And it was important that it was Michael Myers because the mask itself was void of emotion. Void of emotion. It has nothing to do with pressure, it has nothing to do with hype, has nothing to do with camaraderie. It's stone cold killer. And I would listen to that song over and over and over to get, that's when you know you better run, because
that's what a lot of people did.
Yeah, it's
probably coming out. You know,
it's going to be a tough night.
Story.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, dude, that's crazy. And the Halloween theme song, I think, is in 5/4. Okay. So there was a previous episode we talked about odd time signatures. I think that's right. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had to include that last little part with the Halloween song because that's amazing.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. So you're just listening to that like haunting, like almost stalking music bed over and over again.
Yeah, that's vicious, dude. That's next level. But yeah, I mean, that's cool. And it's relatable. Everybody has their sort of cues and things that kind of like get them in their mode. Like when we're on tour, I always do the same vocal warm up, before every show. And usually it's like an hour before the show. And I always try to eat basically the same kind of thing no matter where we are in the world. Like I try to eat like a really clean meal. It's usually just like rice, veggies, and like a protein, and you can usually find that on DoorDash pretty much anywhere. So yeah, it's like locking in those sort of routines and cues that help get you in that zone. Like I loved how he talked about in the Gladiator movie when the dude picks up the dirt and smells it, and that was the cue for that character to like enter into that mode of being a gladiator. Totally. But it's super inspiring, man. And I think about a lot of what he's saying in terms of like one of the benefits of meditation, like why meditate, And meditation is one of those weird things too, where you kind of have to like embrace the dichotomy of it, because on the one hand, it's like you don't meditate for any reason, That's kind of like the mindful way of thinking about meditation, right? Is that it's like, it's the one thing in your life that is actually not done for some greater purpose. It's not done to achieve something or accomplish something or gain something or control something. Like so much of our day-to-day lives are about that. And then meditation is theoretically when you let go of all of that. So there's that, and that's true. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, if it wasn't for anything whatsoever, then why do it? It's like, then just leave it out. Like it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't get us anywhere. Like let's skip it. And that's obviously not true either, because it does have all these great benefits. Like it does bring you clarity of mind, and it can help you with anxiety, and it can help you learn how to manage your emotions. It can help you learn how to suffer in a positive way, because we all go through suffering as human beings. So it does have all these benefits. So that's one of the kind of funny dichotomies that we have to accept as meditators and people who practice mindfulness or Tai Chi, like he's talking about in here. But yeah, I do think about that a lot as one of the main sort of benefits for performers or athletes, or probably really anybody that has to show up and deliver in their job or life. I am always trying to find ways to not be rattled or shook by the context, because anytime I'm freestyling by myself in my studio, I'm usually able to feel very comfortable. And like my vocal tone is exactly what it needs to be. I don't over project or yell. Ideas are kind of like flowing through me very fluidly. I'm not forcing anything. I'm not like trying to have like the craziest scheme right now in this moment, It's just like, no, it's just coming out in the most organic, natural, beautiful way. And so often that's where I'm like, man, if only it was possible to capture that, And then even pulling out the phone and doing the selfie thing like I talked about earlier, it's not quite that, just that new context of being like, well, this is a window into an audience, That's different. That has changed the context and changed the energy, and it makes it a little harder sometimes to get that deep in the zone. Not to mention if I am going on the radio and sit next to Kendrick Lamar or hopping on stage in front of 1,000 people, those sort of contexts that I might find myself in where I need to perform, there's a lot of thoughts that can start going on in your head, a lot of distractions, a lot of pressure. And so I feel like that's what he's mentioning here is like, game 7, when it's all on the line, it's like, can you get back to that grounded place where you're not thinking about all that? You're just showing up your best.
That's what it sounds like. It's like, at least how he was talking about right there. And I love to hear about the first time he kind of bought into it. That's what I found most interesting about that. It's like the first time he's like really presented with it. Yeah. And then props to him for just like acknowledging, you know what? All right, let me give this a full shot. Like, yeah. That's what's so cool about Kobe, I think, too. It's like, yeah, he's so regimented and stuff, but then never so closed off to not like explore what might, improve that regiment. But yeah. And then he was just saying, like there specifically, he's like, we were never rattled. So like mentally, those outside variables, like you're saying, like you're outside of your studio and you have outside variables now, like that could get you flustered. Yeah. Then, the mindfulness allowed them to like kind of keep their cool and composure. Yeah. Which was so cool. And then I think with this one, it talks a little bit more about like the execution of, the actual skill set. So let's say like he maintained his calmness in the last one. Now it's like, can you execute your fundamentals of like a jump shot? Yeah. Or something. I think that's what this one kind of tackles on too.
Okay, dope. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
The idea is a very simple one. And, the Mamba mentality simply means trying to be the best version of yourself. That's what the mentality means. It means every day, you're trying to become better. And it's a constant quest. It's an infinite quest. So starting at the age of 2, when I first started playing the game, and on and on and on, I always ask questions. I always try to get better every single day, learn more, learn more.
You were asking questions at 2?
Oh, dude, I was asking questions all the time. You'd be surprised. Like some people, like my kids at 2 could do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Right? At 2, I could dribble a basketball. I could shoot a basketball on the Nerf hoop at the house. And I would go to practice with my father. I would observe my father. I'd sit and watch games with him. Yeah, it's funny. Like to me, the mentality is a really simple one in the sense that the confidence comes from preparation. So when the game's on the line, I'm not asking myself to do something that I haven't done thousands of times before, right? So when I prepare, I know what I'm capable of doing, I know what I'm comfortable doing, and I know what I'm not comfortable doing. Right? And so in those moments, if it looks like I'm ice cold or not nervous, it's because I've done it thousands of times before. So what's one more time?
Wow. Epic. Yeah, shout out to Kobe Bryant, man. That's awesome. I always get goosebumps watching him talk about this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, and that's very relatable as well. The whole concept of confidence coming through preparation. If confidence doesn't come through preparation, then it's just arrogance, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're just like, I'm the shit, but you haven't actually done anything to develop your skill set or actually like work on your craft to actually become like really great at it, then it's delusional, right? But if you're somebody like Kobe, whose confidence comes through, like he said, tens of thousands, hundreds of millions, I would assume, of repetitions on all of the skills involved in being a great basketball player, then that confidence is rooted in something real, and you can really own it. And yeah, that's totally the approach that I try to take to freestyling as well. And I can only aspire to be as focused and as masterful as somebody like Kobe. So it's amazing to have videos of people like him talking and that we can watch and they light a spark in us every time we watch them. That's the goal, and if you never hit that goal, then it's okay. If you try to hit that goal, you're going to be somewhere great, right? That's how I think about it. But yeah, that's how I approach it, through the practice, through the training, even through just doing tours now, getting ready to go on our 3rd, 4th tour, whatever it is. It's like, okay, I've gone on stage and I've freestyled in front of audiences a lot of times now. I have some reps. So, I don't have to get as nervous. I don't have to be totally crippled by my fear to go out and do that. I still will feel some of that fear every time, but it gets quieter and quieter. So, yeah, I love that, man.
Yeah, those are great interviews. That first one was Valuetainment. That's like an hour plus.
Nice.
That second one was TEDx Shanghai, so definitely recommend those. Honestly, it's so good, top to bottom. I love the guy, the interviewer. I don't have his name for the TEDx Shanghai. He's like, "Oh, you're asking questions at 2?" And like kind of going for a laugh. And Kobe's just like serious
yes.
in that moment. He's like, "Yeah, no, seriously, like
yeah.
I've been picking up things since then." Like,
yeah, that was epic. That was epic. Yeah, and it's cool too. I've really, even going back to the first clip, like I do, like you were mentioning, respect that he open to anything that may help him get closer to his goal, right? And I feel like that's such an important takeaway too from like the way he approached his career and his journey to greatness and the way he embodied it. So often myself, and I'm speaking about myself too when I say this, it's like we get locked in on what we think works, based on our prior experience up to that point, but that can close us off from other possibilities. And I think about that too, like with something like Tai Chi that, is spiritual in a sense, for sure. I mean, I think the basis of it is highly spiritual. The way that it's applied in modern society, it also is a form of physical exercise, right? It's also has to do with like mental health, and we're becoming more and more aware about like how real that is, like in terms of actually like affecting our neurology and stuff, if that's the right word, and the way that our brains actually work. So it doesn't have to be spiritual in the sense that you don't have to adopt a new religion or believe in something you don't believe in order to practice it and gain some of the benefits. But certainly it has a spiritual component for anyone who does it. And, I mean, for a while for myself, it was like I was like basically a full-on atheist, like not really believing in anything that would even be considered spiritual necessarily. I was like full science guy, like cold hard facts, like, and so that had me closed off probably to things like meditation and mindfulness. Like, oh, what's the point? That's not even real to me, And I think a lot of us, we come to a certain point in our life where we hit a certain ceiling or we hit a certain wall or we're stuck somehow. And it's sort of the frustration of that forces us to sort of like broaden our view and be like, well, shit, what I'm doing right now is clearly not working. So maybe instead of judge these other things that I just assume don't work, but have never actually tried or even been open to, maybe I should actually become open to them. And so I think like somebody like Kobe, that was such a sort of heartwarming story about how he's there and he's kind of like, what is this? This is crazy. I just want to play basketball. He's so passionate. and then deciding to open up to it and then actually reaping the benefit of it. And I feel like he's somebody who was just always down. Whatever was going to bring him closer to his goal, that was the move.
Yeah. Kind of like hesitant and then, of course, buying in, becoming just like an absolute expert beast at it.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
The highest level.
Exactly.
But that's interesting too, with like kind of bringing in the like mindfulness and stuff. I also think some of it is just growing older and getting more experience, life experience. It's that like line of the more I see, the less I know.
Yeah.
Which like kind of opens you up too. It's like, like who am I to say for anything that's along these lines of, it's maybe not empirically this or that. Like,
yeah,
the more I see, the less I know. Why not be open to at least, see what kind of works for you and what you think about everything?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. It's a maturity thing too. It's like when you're a kid, there's like when I was just full science and everything else is bullshit, I was just kind of like an arrogant little kid without much life experience,
Sure.
Or a young man in my 20s, figuring it out. And then I think like we all make mistakes, right? And it's into adulthood, we've all made some big mistakes, and so you realize like, wow, I have been like seriously wrong about shit. Like there are moments I can point to, there's proof, like my life story contains moments where I was seriously off the mark, It's like, so, okay, that's very humbling. And then it's like, well, I don't have the answers, So let me start posing some more questions and trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dope.
Hell yeah. Shout out to the legend, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. And as always, I want to answer some of your questions. Shout out to everybody that has been submitting questions. The way to do that is harrymackofficial.com/flowstatepod. You can type your question in, or if you really want to make our year, you can actually record an audio message or film a video, and you can submit it up there as well. That you just have to drag the file in. You'll see it explains it all there on the website. But I'm going to answer some of your questions right now, starting with Terry K. Terry says, I teach kindergarten. My kids love rhyme during reading lessons. I've always wondered, what makes rhyme so satisfying? Is there an evolutionary reason behind it? Since you've worked with rhyme so much, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Excellent question. Again, I'll just point out with regard to the evolutionary reason behind it. I'm not an expert, so I don't know the ins and outs of that. Somebody maybe has actually studied that, but I have looked into it a bit on my own, and I have some of my own thoughts as well, which I'll share now. But I think it does come down to I think there is an evolutionary component. I think it has to do with survival, and human beings are like really expert pattern recognizers, right? Like that's what we do, is we look for patterns everywhere. And we use all of our senses. We use our eyes, obviously, and our ears, and our ability to touch and smell, and all of these senses to sort of like recognize patterns within our environment. And that was really necessary to survive, right? Like back in the day, if you hear the sound of a lion roar and you don't know what it is, you're like, oh, that's interesting. And then you turn a corner and there's a lion there that wants to eat you. You're like, holy fuck, So it's like, okay, next time you hear the lion roar, you're like, very quiet, very focused. You get the adrenaline jolt, which will help you run faster. And you're cautious and you're tuned in, right? And so, or if you hear the sound of flowing water and you've all been traveling for a couple of days and you're thirsty because you're hunter and gatherers and you haven't had fresh water in a while, that's a pattern that you recognize. That's a good sound and you're drawn to it. And so I think that's a big part of this. I have read that, the same part of the brain that lights up when we listen to instrumental music, like if you listen to classical music, also lights up when we hear rhyming words. So, again, I don't know the science of that. I'm not an expert, but it makes sense to me that there's a part of the brain that is sort of recognizing like auditory patterns, right? Like when we hear a pattern in sound, it's very satisfying to us, probably because, that helped us survive. And so, yeah, when you hear rhyming words, they sound similar with a slight tweak, right? And so we hear that as a pattern, and it's very satisfying and very rewarding. And rhymes are really cool too because they can help us remember things. They really help with memory. That's why a lot of brands will have like a rhyming slogan. It doesn't get all over the place. It doesn't belong in your face. Carl's Jr. So there's that. And another interesting thing about rhymes that I read is that it actually makes us believe things are true, even if they're not true. So that can be used for good or evil. Like, be careful with that one. But just because something rhymes doesn't mean that it's actually true, but we believe it's a little bit more true than we would have otherwise. Such as an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's not true. You have to do more than just eat an apple every day to stay healthy. But it sounds right. It sounds good. And so anyway, rhymes can be really powerful in getting your message across. And I think that's a big part of why rhyming poetry and music has taken over the world and is so popular and beloved by most human beings, right? But yeah, I think that's all there is to it. One other thing about rhyming, well, not all there is to it, but that's all that I have to share about it. I think there's a lot more to it, actually. But one of the things that I think is so fun to play with and that really sort of highlights this whole pattern recognition thing that we love about rhyming is when somebody chooses to use what's called a deceptive cadence. So that would be where you set up an obvious rhyme, but then you swap out the rhyming word with something that actually doesn't rhyme. So, something like if I was seemingly going to set up hand, it's like, I'm gripping on this mic and repping for my brand. That's the only tool that I keep within my fingers, right? And so you go a different way. There was this song on CeeLo's album. I think it's called like the Perfectly Imperfect, something like that. But anyway, CeeLo's album with a red cover, Perfectly Imperfect CeeLo Green or something like that, or CeeLo Green's Perfect Imperfections or something like that. It was a great record. And there was a featured verse on it from somebody from Dungeon Family. I can't remember who it is. And they did this deceptive cadence, and I always thought it was amazing. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was something like it was a flower scheme, and they were setting up roses. See, and I don't even know if that's what it was, but they were saying something like, it was a love song kind of, and he was talking to a girl, and he's like, I'm making this up. This isn't really what it was, but it was something to the effect of like, we're on this path together, and we chose this. I pick you out the crowd like a florist picks a tulip. And I was always like, that is so hard.
That's tight.
So anyway, yeah, deceptive cadences really show us how much that pattern recognition is really there when we hear rhyming words, because when it's intentionally broken at the last moment, it's very jarring and it catches everybody's attention and everybody looks over and notices.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got here. A question from Vlad L. What advice would you give a beginner rapper for how you would go about building a fan base foundation like 10,000 people if you couldn't make the freestyle videos? Wow. 10,000 people is a lot of people. And I think if you have 10,000 core fans, then you have a very healthy career, right? A lot of people have made content around this idea, sharing this notion that you don't need to be number one on the Billboard charts. You don't need to have hundreds of millions of monthly listens on Spotify to have a very healthy, thriving career where you do music or art full time. If you have 10,000 diehard fans, and I think probably even fewer, I think maybe if you have 5,000, I mean, it depends on what your offering is, but you don't need that many people to love what you do in order to make a living at it. If you drop merch every year and drop an album every year and go on tour every year and you have let's say 10,000 people that show up and buy all your records and buy your merch and come to your shows, you're doing it, right? So that's really encouraging because sometimes it feels like, man, how could I ever compete with these huge artists out there? You don't have to, The goal is to make our living doing what we love. And so, yeah, if you have a base of 10,000 fans, you're doing that. If I couldn't make the freestyle videos, I really don't know because I think, but I think my goal would be to find some way to stand out. I think that's the most important thing, is that there are so many artists, there are so many rappers and singers and producers and instrumentalists. It's a huge world, right? There's billions of people on this planet. And it's beautiful that so many of them feel moved to create, because I think all human beings are creative. And the fact that so many people choose to make stuff and put it out in the world is so beautiful. But, you know, there's a lot of artists out there that are trying to make it. And so inherently that means it's a very competitive space, right? And especially now, like in this social media world that we live in, like back in the day, it was so unlikely that anybody was going to make it and ever have a thriving career as a musician, right? Because, you know, it was just, you had to go through the pre-established system at the time. You had to be singing at an open mic, and then like a A&R from a record label would just so happen to have been there to hear you, and they would have to happen to like what you do and then get your information and connect you with the right person just so that you could have a shot to maybe be in a recording studio, to maybe have an opportunity to maybe make something that might maybe make it out to the world, right? So it was like such a unlikely thing for somebody to make it and become a known artist in the world. So that was really challenging, and it was a lot less saturated. There were a lot fewer artists. Now, because we have social media, everybody has this incredible opportunity to share what they make with the world, and it's incredibly powerful. And it's a really great thing, you know, because if you have talent, then you have the ability to connect with people and start building your audience. And that's what I've done, and that's what millions of other people are doing as well. But, you know, what comes along with that is the fact that, you know, like I said, it's highly competitive. So, you know, when you're in a space that's so competitive, it's not just about being really great at what you do. Yes, you have to be really great at what you do, right? That's like the baseline minimum requirement. And that's subjective, right? Each genre has different, I guess, tastes and different sort of like standards for what is working and what is considered great. And so that's not like any one particular thing. And don't listen to anybody who tells you that this is the only one way to be good at what you do, because that's never the case. But you do have to put the work in. You do have to put the reps in, right? You do have to embody some of that Mamba mentality that Kobe Bryant was talking about. You have to get your skills up. That's the baseline minimum. But that might not be enough to stand out and to get those 10,000 people, because there are so many people in this world that are really great at what they do, right? So then it comes down to, how are you going to stand out? And I think there's a lot of different ways that somebody could stand out. Like just talking about rappers, because that's what Vlad is here. You know, maybe you have a really unique voice, right? So you could lean into that. Maybe you have a really unique fashion sense, or you just decide that there's this certain type of clothes that you want to wear for your, you know, artist persona. And so that helps you stand out, right? Or maybe it's the actual subject matter of what you're rapping about, you know? Like there are so many little subgenres within hip hop. Like there's nerdcore, where it's like literally people rapping about coding and like, you know, the intricate nuances of like computers and technology, right? Or there's people who rap about like mainly like comic books, Star Trek, Star Wars, that kind of like nerd content, right? That's just one example. But I saw somebody going viral on my feed the other day. She was a really dope MC, and she was rapping about like mindfulness and meditation and like self-betterment stuff. A lot of the stuff we end up talking about on this podcast, and she was killing it. And it was like a trap beat, and her cadence was crazy. Somebody drop her name in the comments. I'm sure some of you maybe have seen that. So if you know who that is, drop her name in the comments. I'll try to track it down and maybe have it in the show notes too. But it was dope. And, you know, that's not like a niche that has been really like heavily exploited in hip hop so far, right? Like the mindfulness meditation stuff. I rap about that stuff quite a bit, but to hear her just really getting into it, and sort of the juxtaposition of rapping about mindfulness and taking care of yourself over this like smacking trap beat was really cool. So that's another way that you can stand out. It's just like the actual subject matter. I mean, there's so many different things you could explore in terms of like figuring out how you're going to stand out. But I think that's really what's important. And I mention all of this because for me, the fact that I freestyle my lyrics off the top of the dome, that is sort of my edge, right? Like that is the main way in which I have stood out and been different from most of what you see in the space, right? Now, it's unique, but not because I'm the only person doing it at all, right? There's tons of people, tons of rappers who have some content of them improvising, right? There's a smaller group that have quite a bit of content that features them improvising, and an even smaller group still that is mostly known for improvising and freestyling, right? My peers and contemporaries and heroes and the legends who came before me who built their careers primarily freestyling. But that's a small group relative to the size of hip hop, right? Which is one of the biggest genres in the world and has thousands upon thousands of artists that participate in the genre. And so because I've branded myself really primarily as an off-top freestyler, that really does help me stand out. So if I couldn't make the freestyle videos, yeah, I guess I would be trying to figure out what makes me unique outside of the fact that I improvise. And so, yeah, I don't know exactly what that would be. I mean, I do have some things that just so happen to help me, right? Like I'm like a middle-aged white dude with like gray hairs in my beard, you know? Don't see a lot of rappers that fit that demographic necessarily, although I'm sure there's way more than I even realize. So sometimes there's just stuff like that. Like that's kind of like the voice, you know? If you happen to have a unique voice, or if you feel like you could get to a unique voice without forcing it, you know? That's another thing. Sometimes they're just given to you. But yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to. It's like what makes you different, what makes you unique, what makes you unique, and what's gonna help you kind of stand out in the sea of all these artists that are coming out every day.
Yeah, and everyone does it differently.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I love watching. To give a shout out to like a band that I used to work with a lot, I'm a big fan of. They're called Joe Hertler and the Rainbow Seekers, and it's this rock indie band. Build a big following in Michigan. They're still at it and they're still crushing. But like it's been interesting to watch. It's been a slow grind of like working within a local market, building, like doing a lot of shows, doing in that market. You know, eventually from like a local Ann Arbor show to like Electric Forest, which is a bigger audience. Yeah, and then touring from there, and then maybe once every now and then on an album, you have a song that like gets a life of its own on Spotify, and that allows you to continue touring. Totally. And it's like, it's not all overnight. No. But you do have that foundation of people that really dig your sound, your look, your brand, if you want to call it that. Yep. So there's so many ways, and it's not all overnight social media, you know? Right. I love watching that. Totally. And the great news is we're all unique already. You know, like there's only one you. All right. I know you've heard that before. You might think it sounds cheesy, but the thing is that shit is so true. Right. That's why we've all heard it so many times. You know, it's one of those simple truths that will always be true. So usually like it's just, it can be sort of scary to show the parts of us that make us unique. Because like we all, again, like as human beings, we have this desire to fit in and be accepted by the group. But it's those things that make you different. It's like, oh yeah, you're really into hip hop, but you also are this really amazing vegan chef, you know, and you love cooking vegan food. That's a thing, you know, like don't hide that because you don't hear people rapping about that. Rap about that, you know? And sometimes I think if there's a thing that you're scared to share, and if it's a thing that like, if you have some video randomly get seen by a lot of people and they're making fun of you for a certain aspect of what you do, that's probably a good thing. Yeah. Because that just means that like, first of all, fuck them for making fun of you. and second of all, like that just means that it's not usual, right? So there's something that they can point at and pick at, and it's like, oh, okay, well maybe that is my thing, you know? Like maybe that is actually what separates me. So don't be afraid to be yourself. And what's the easiest way, if you're going to have to stick with something for the long run, what's the easiest way to do so other than being authentic? Exactly. You know? Exactly. Yeah. Well, these were dope questions. Yes. I'm down to keep it moving along though, man. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. We got a fan freestyle that we could pull up here. Beautiful. Let's get it. Shout out to everybody sending their freestyles in, man. harrymackofficial.com/flowstatepod. Send me your bars. I love hearing other from my fellow freestylers out there, man. It's a lot of fun. This one's from Jacoby. Hell yeah.
Yo, what's good? They call me Jacoby. This is all the way off top, you know, so shout out to Harry Mack. We're gonna try this one time. Y'all ready? Yeah, okay. Off top, you know that it's a scary fact. Cause on the screen, I be rhyming for Harry Mack. I'm looking there and I see myself staring back. I'm like, damn, make sure that this ain't whack. Make sure that I be doing everything that I rehearsed. Yeah, that's right, I can't go back. I cannot reverse what I done once I send it in. Representing all of my talent. I gotta keep the balance of creativity. Make sure that I'm living these rhymes that I'm spitting. I ain't never gonna be quitting. I be getting everything I ever wanted off the top. It will be haunting your mind. Cause every single rhyme will be sticking in your brain for a while. I've been crazy since a child. Keep it spicy, never mild. I'm reviled. I got the dopest flows. They don't know where I'm going next. Yeah, on the beat, I'm just here to flex. There you go. I hope you enjoy.
Hey.
That's what's up.
Hell yeah. Jacoby. That was dope. That was dope. Hell yeah. Love that. Love that. Awesome submission. Right off the rip. Love your vibe. He just had a great energy about him, right?
Yeah, dude.
Man.
So smooth, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Super smooth flow. Love the voice. Speaking of the voice, loved the voice. And it fit the beat really well, too. So that's always really great. Like it didn't sound jarring. It didn't sound like they were clashing in any way, shape, or form. It sounded like your voice was an instrument that was part of the beat and it was supposed to be there. So that was really dope. And yeah, love the smile at the beginning and at the end. I think it's really important to remember to have fun while we're doing this, especially when we're improvising, because it's one of those things where, you know, you really have to let yourself off the hook and be in touch with your inner child. And so, yeah, love to see the big smiles at the beginning and the end. And man, it was dope. Really, really smooth. Yeah, like no mistakes, so to speak. Like there were no moments in it where it was choppy in any way at all. It just kept moving forward with this really consistent flow. It wasn't overly repetitive, which is something that happens a lot, even sometimes in my freestyles, but certainly with people who are earlier in their journey. Sometimes it's like we have these crutch phrases that just keep coming out again and again and again. I really didn't hear that here. It was really just feeling like every couple bars was unique and different. And also a lot of cool flow switches and shifting up the position of where the rhymes land and sort of like the density of the rhymes, sometimes packing in a lot of rhymes and other times leaving more space in between the rhyming words. So I love that, man. Really dope. Also love the beginning of the freestyle was really about like, I like how you rapped as though you had been selected, you know, because why not? Because worst case scenario, you don't get selected. Best case scenario, it fits perfectly. So that was cool how you were kind of taking us through your mindset where you're like, yo, it's a scary fact because I'll be on the screen right now with Harry Mack. I look at the screen and see myself staring back. Oh shit, yo, I hope it's not whack. Like that was awesome, man. Like I really felt like you were speaking from the heart and sharing what you were thinking about when you recorded this. So yeah, man, I mean, it was really dope. In terms of constructive, you know, feedback, I mean, I don't even know, man. I think I would just say keep going and keep killing it and keep flowing. I would love to hear, just from my own curiosity, if you do freestyles like with random words or with like, you know, objects or things that are being given to you in real time. And if you've practiced at all or worked on incorporating those things, I assume you probably have, just based on the level of freestyle that you're demonstrating here. But this particular recording wasn't about that, which I loved. You know, this was just sort of a free flow. You were just going and speaking your mind, and it was dope. But yeah, I would be curious if you also practice, you know, with random word generators and stuff like that. And also curious if you have any music out because, you know, it sounds like you have a ton of potential. You're already doing really great. So if you do, you know, let us know in the comments, let us know where people can find some of your stuff. But otherwise, man, I would say just keep going, you know, keep going. You're killing it. Jacoby, man.
Yeah, this was dope. And I'm just looking back to see what he had messaged with it. And funny enough, he had sent this, and I think right after we had you had spoke about Kobe on a different episode about the contract with yourself.
Oh yeah,
and you know the non-negotiable, and he was just saying, you know, he's like really taken to the consistency in practice, and he really enjoys that actually.
Well, it shows, man.
Yeah,
it definitely shows. It definitely shows.
It's tight.
Hell yeah! Jacoby. Shout out to Jacoby. Let's get it.
As always, man, I've got a clip of from your own body of work to run back and see yourself kind of react to it. So,
hell yeah.
Today we pulled up It Goes Deep, which I must say is one of my favorite songs, videos from the Process EP era.
Yes.
So, dog, yeah, set this up for a little bit for us, please.
Yeah. It goes deep. Hell yeah. Yeah, so this is a one-take video that we did at Venice Beach, and it was actually after a day of busking. So we did like a few hours filming busking content out at Venice, which those videos have come out. So if you've seen some of the Venice busking stuff, some of it was shot on this same day. And our whole thing was like, all right, we'll show up and we'll do the busking session, and then we'll cut that like right before golden hour, and then we'll grab a one-take of me lip syncing, rapping along to It Goes Deep at golden hour in Venice. And so we did 2 takes, and we picked our favorite of the 2. And the thing is, it was such a new song too. That was the thing. Is like I was like, I don't know if I have it memorized. It was like the night before I was like running through it trying to memorize it. And but anyway, what we got I think is really dope. So let's peep it.
Yeah. 1 2 1 2. Y'all know what this is, man. Turn your fucking volume up. Yo, hey. Come on, listen, I said, time to get creative. Y'all know coffee is the drug of choice. Knocking all them sloppy demons off me just to hush the noise. Bless my inner child, spoiled rotten with a bunch of toys. It's the opposite, the muscles popping from a ton of roids. Natural growth, the Mack took an oath to leave no gaps in the practice of the raps that he wrote. Every chapter masterfully crafted, dog, it has to be dope. His dreams, fasten the hope, schemes act as the rope. Sharp bars off the dome, throwing darts from the melon. If the art is compelling, then your heart will start swelling. Expanding with love, get high like cannabis buds, candle it up. I'm just hoping y'all can handle the buzz, because admittedly, it's almost too much to take. Utilizing raw truth just to hush the fakes. We keep it authentic till the end of time. I send a blend of rhymes, beats, bending spines. It goes deep every time I grab the mic.
Pause it real quick. Yeah, so this is dope to rewatch and relive, but yeah, this is all 1 take, by the way. I'm ending the debate right now.
Come on.
Because some people in the comments are like, oh, see, it punches in. There are opportunities where we could have faked it, right? Because, like, I guess in the... There's probably a term, and maybe it is 1 take, or maybe there's a certain way of qualifying a 1 take wherein it's literally like the same framing and the same exact everything the whole time, so that it would be incredibly difficult to punch in. Theoretically impossible. I'm sure with modern technology you could find a way to do it. but like pre-AI, it would be like nearly impossible to do any kind of punch in, and that's self-evident. Whereas here we zoom in on the dog walker in the background, we zoom in on the shoes, which I think is fire, and that was a creative choice for us to do, which I love. But yeah, some people in the comments were pointing out that actually breaks the 1 take. Maybe it does from a technical standpoint when talking about filmmaking, but this was all from the same continuous take.
Take a look at the background every time. I am a little defensive over this. I shot and edited this. I'm like, yo, it was crazy that this is 1 take. That's what we think is so impressive about it to ourselves, which is what we really like about it.
Yeah.
That background's never changing.
Like,
and I did not work on it hard enough to be like CGI the same dog in there every time.
Yeah, exactly. And one other funny thing too is in the alternate take, there was somebody sitting on the bench behind me, so you could just see the edge of them and their back, and we thought that was a really dope element. So that was like when we were on the fence between the 2 takes, we're like, it is nice to have the guy sitting on the back bench, but we ended up going with this one, which I think was the right choice.
They're both so dope, man.
Yeah.
The time I send a blend of rhymes, beats, bending spines, it goes deep. Every time I grab the mic, you probably feel this shit off in the afterlife. It goes deep. When I start exploring the verse, I burn motherfuckers like the core of the earth. It goes deep. Every time I grab the mic, you probably feel this shit off in the afterlife. It goes deep. When I start exploring the verse, I burn motherfuckers like the core of the earth. It goes I don't need motivation, all I need is a routine to focus on creating instead of shifting to new scenes. Swifter with the verses like floor from Swiffer, they too clean. Addicted to the process of painting pictures of true fiend. Miles Davis on blue and green. Ill melodic phrasing, caught a sensation that's hot and blazing while jotting all these thought creations. If it's not authentic, then I'm not relating. Pause the philosophical postulating, you'll stop debating.
Pause it right there. Yeah, this is what's really dope too about this video is like we're really just out there doing a 1 take at Venice Beach. And Venice is such a unique place. It's such an awesome place. And there's such an eclectic group of people out there. And it really has this culture of like outward self-expression and acceptance. And it's really awesome. And so you get little fun moments like that. That crew that walked by and that girl was all dancing and vibing in the video. And I love it. It looks like we would have planned that, right? Like we're like, oh yeah, like, and at this part we'll have a crew walk by and they'll dance, you know? But yeah, that's not the case. And I feel like Venice is the one place on earth where if you just show up and do it with real strangers and no planning, you will get those little Easter eggs inevitably.
So true, man. So true. I wasn't sure too. It's like, do we try to avoid? Because like, who knows what someone's going to do? But Venice seems to always like, they interact in the right way.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's really good energy.
Yeah, usually the room is read correctly because she did just enough and not too much. Like if she stood there for the next like minute and like had her arm around me and was like this, then it's like, okay, now you're like the supporting role and like we probably don't need that. But yeah, no, it was great.
It's awesome.
Davis on blue and green. Ill melodic phrasing, caught a sensation that's hot and blazing while jotting all these thought creations. If it's not authentic, then I'm not relating. Pause the philosophical postulating, you'll stop debating. I'm clearly the sickest, the lyrical misfits. They feel me when they hearing me spit. This is merely a tidbit. It goes deeper than regions over which Poseidon presiding. In fact, deeper than black holes sucking the light in. Deeper than that addiction to the rush of excitement the drugs are providing. Deeper than the crushing depression. Deeper than rock bottom. Deeper than the love that you finding from a friend that's hugging you tight without no judgment inside him. It goes deep. Every time I grab the mic, you probably feel this shit off in the afterlife. It goes deep. When I start exploring the verse, I burn motherfuckers like the core of the earth. It goes deep. Every time I grab the mic, you probably feel this shit off in the afterlife. It goes deep. When I start exploring the verse, I burn motherfuckers like the core of the earth. It goes deep. Cracking the surface and rapping with purpose. Any distraction, I curve this. I'm attacking these verses with a vengeance. So unrelenting with my craft as a wordsmith. It has to be perfect. When we in the lab and we working, it's similar to pastors in churches. The passion is palpable. More than the cash that you stashing is massively valuable. Molded from molten hot, malleable materials. The incalculable power alchemy leads to miracles. This is not rap, it's a
Venice looks so good, man.
Strip away the artificial off of the facade. Condition critical MCs are put up in the ER. Energy received through these bars. Effortless rhythm entities regard. Every rhyme is heavenly. I'm forever gon' climb to the very peak. They saying Harry's weak, they trippin'. Make you aware of secrets that's buried deep. So listen, it goes deep. Every time I grab the
pause
mic,
it real quick. Yeah, Venice just looks so awesome. It's so colorful, and at this golden hour, it's perfect. And yeah, we did the 2 takes because we only had this quality of light for 2 takes. You know, like the golden hour is like a short. It's really like
it's like 16 minutes.
They call it an hour, but yeah, that's
like
an exaggeration.
We had it dialed in.
Yeah, so we only had we had to do it in this short period of time, and that's what I really love about this video, honestly. And watching it is like. The one take concept is a really powerful concept, and there's people who have exploited it to the max in really cool creative ways, like planning out a whole thing in a controlled environment where all these unique things occur over the course of it, right? That are like perfectly choreographed. And that's like such an awesome thing. This is like the opposite of that. This is like, we're just like, all right, we're going to run it once or twice and we'll pick our favorite.
Yeah.
And so just to see the way that it came together and it actually looks so good and it feels so good, is pretty cool. The happenstance of it.
It really puts you there, kind of.
Yeah.
Whether you've been or not, I mean, what this is, it kind of just portrays that feeling, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like golden hour.
Goes deep. Every time I grab the mic, you probably feel this shit off in the afterlife. It goes deep. When I start exploring the verse, I burn motherfuckers like the core of the earth. It goes deep. Every time I grab the mic, you probably feel this shit off in the afterlife. It goes deep. When I start exploring the verse, I burn motherfuckers like the core of the earth. It goes deep.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Dope, man.
Yeah,
there it is. Hell yeah, it goes deep. Yeah, that was a fun day, man. That was a fun day. Yep. From busking to the It Goes Deep video.
You never know at Venice, dog.
You just never know, man. It's ripe for content. Hell
Still
yeah.
been out there shooting some fun stuff recently, man.
Yep.
Always
yeah.
gives.
Yeah, it's always nice to go back. And yeah, shout out to everybody too that's been supporting that record, man, because that song in particular, like, has gotten a lot of streams and a lot of views on the video as well. A lot of people have like DM'd or reached out or commented that that's their favorite joint that I've done. So super appreciative to everybody that's been listening to that song in particular, and really any of the original music, man. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting that side of my creativity and my output as well, because as I've talked about a little previously, like that was a big sort of exploratory time for me when I was writing all of that music. It was a big creative expansion for me personally. I was out of my comfort zone and pushing myself, and so it's just been really cool, man, to see the feedback from the community. And yeah, not only the feedback on the new music, but the feedback on this podcast as well, man. Flow State, we here. Thank you to everybody for showing up time and time again, for the guest episodes, for the solo episodes. Thank you to everybody that's in the comments, telling us what you love, giving us your honest feedback. And yeah, man, it just really, really means a lot. So thank y'all for being here. I think we're going to close this one out, yeah?
Let's get it.
All right, y'all know how we do. Let's get it. Yeah, okay, Yeah. Okay, listen, yeah, flow state, come on, yeah, check it out, listen, okay, yeah. In that flow state, flowing no doubt. End of the episode, now we closing it out. We gon' do it how we do it, off top with the fluid. If I see it in my mind, then I have to pursue it with these lyrics. Bars emanate from the spirit. Yeah, I step up, I never fear it. Hey yo, I walked y'all through my morning. It's ironic cause you see me on stage performing in front of a crowd of 1,000. Why was I scared? Y'all are gonna laugh soon as you aware. I was scared just to post a video up on IG. They like, Mack, look at who you are, how can it be? Honestly, I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I gotta keep it honest cause I never bullshitted with the fans. The community deserves my whole heart. Man, it's still scary just publishing my art. And I got a team that puts the content out to the masses. Some videos perform above average and some perform lower, but I'm separated from the process as the rap flower. I can be in my laboratory practicing for hours, just elevating my freestyle power. And I don't have to be the one that presses send, the one that presses publish to share it all with them. Yeah, over the years I've been removed and that has allowed my whole brand to improve. But on the negative side, it's made me feel terrified to press publish and share this hairy guy with the planet. I've been staying trapped away, but I had to get after it today. Recorded a video talking about resistance, talking about how I'm striving to be consistent, talking about how the fear I have to overcome it, because if I let it run my life then I'm certain to plummet. Even though it's too much to stomach, I have to find a way. And after recording that video today, I still couldn't hardly bring myself to press send, to let my soul sing so that people could see it and double click and like it, or maybe pass by it, or maybe just survive it if it's not their thing. I just couldn't find the courage inside my own mind, the courage inside my heart, the courage inside my spirit so that I could press send and hit the world with these lyrics, goddamn. But somehow I found a way. Yeah, in my studio I couldn't stay. I went inside the house, I said, Lisa, can you watch this review? See, does it reach ya? She watched it on review, she said, yes indeed. If a tiny little nudge is the only thing you need, well I'll say it. I opened my ear to be aware. She looked me in the eye and said, yes, press share, now it's out. Yeah, we gotta overcome them obstacles, even in the moments when they start to feel impossible. We gotta make a choice. I'm out here spilling, I choose to do it my way just like Bob Dylan. Hey yo, at times the stress, it feels hectic. I started riot like when he went electric. They wanted to put him all inside a box and define folk music as the only way he rocked, as the only thing he brought. But he was freewheeling, he told him with the record, and now he's up there dealing a whole different sound with lots of soul. A combination of folk, maybe rock and roll, maybe some other influences that's all up in the blender. A moment that was polarizing, one we all remember. And something like him, I'm out here to flow exquisitely and hopefully make moves that also make marks on history. Let's get it. We about to take it to the limit. We be stretching through the cosmos, it's so infinite. My light, they couldn't dim it. I do this all the time. I feel that satisfactory nature of the rhyme, the way that it aligns from Earth out to Saturn. As human beings, as creatures that recognize patterns, we used to do it to survive. We'd be dying if we couldn't recognize the sound of the roaring lion. So we had to find a way to put it all together. Now my bond with these rhyming words is truly tough as leather. Yeah, and y'all know I'ma truly be the man. I keep that microphone all gripped in my palm and drop another bomb. Y'all know I hit them with the switch up. Every time I spit, I keep it moving, never give up. Yeah, I hit you with that ill deceptive cadence. They like it's so crazy, yo, it don't even make sense. I take them right to the limit until I'm finished. I couldn't be diminished if I was a major chord with a lower third and fifth degree. Every time I spit with these, witness me. I got more flavor than a fricassee. Envision me falling off, I'll never let it happen. Hey yo, I told you I bring the real, no pathetic rapping. I'm always taking action when I'm all up on it. How would I do it if I couldn't freestyle? To be honest, I couldn't imagine, but a message to the youngins, the aspiring artist that's trying to do something. You gotta find a way to stand out in this landscape, and don't be reaching with a hand out to anybody, cause ain't nobody coming to save. You the one who has the ability to amaze. You the one that can change the planet with these rhymes and beats, but you have to remember to be unique, be yourself. I know you heard that like a million times. It's not a new message coming from a brilliant mind. It's not earth-shattering, but trust me, it's the truth. Gotta stay unique and be yourself when in the booth. Don't be afraid of the shit that makes you different, cause that's the shit that'll place you at a distance from everything else we're so tired of hearing. Open up a path for yourself, move through the clearing. Yeah, y'all know my flows be giant. Mamba mentality like Kobe Bryant. I'm trying to kick these lyrics in a clever way. I said I'm trying to get better, and that's every day. Trying to elevate with these fly frees. Matter of fact, I should probably start to practice Tai Chi. It reminds me of the mindfulness meditation that helps me stay on this continuous elevation. Yeah, taking it right to the peak every time that I speak. When I be listening to Kobe talk, he's going deep. Man, it's got my heart fluttering. A real champion. We wanna hit that level even if it can't be done. We gon' aim for it, we gon' land somewhere great. Yeah, it goes deep, so we gon' do what it takes. Listen, one take while we out at the beach. I shine like golden hour with my lyrical speech. I shine like UV rays coming straight from the sun. I stay in flow state when I'm getting it done. And y'all know I come off the top without no facade. So shouts to everybody out there rocking live with the pod. Let's go. Yeah. Much love, y'all. Flow State Podcast. Harry Mack. You know what it is. Thanks for being here, y'all. We love you. Peace.